So much has happened in the last 5 or 6 days in the world of professional wrestling that I would be lying to anybody who asked that if I was surprised and if I am disappointed and if I am shocked to see the way that things have broken down in the world of professional wrestling. And yes, I am shocked. I am surprised to a certain degree. Um I am disgusted. I am absolutely taken aback by just some of the things that have happened. Obviously, there's a lot of good things that have happened in the last couple of days in the wrestling world, like the Royal Rumble event from WWE, like Impact Wrestling, TNA Wrestling doing some great stuff, like a couple of great matches out of AEW. All that stuff is important to discuss at some point. But today, we are here to talk about the legacy of Vince McMahon and the WWE. Now, if you aren't a wrestling fan and you haven't followed what's been happening with Vince McMahon, this podcast episode may not make a lot of sense to you, just because uh, it's one of those things where you either know or you don't, and you don't understand what's happening here. So, I'm here specifically to spend a few minutes talking about the legacy, the lasting legacy of Vince McMahon and the WWE, because at the end of the day, the allegations against McMahon and some executives in WWE is honestly overshadowing anything Vince McMahon has done in the WWE. My name is Ruben Jay. Thanks for tuning into the Ruben Jay Show. And yes, we are back. We're doing episodes. We're going to be doing stuff like this. We're going to do movie reviews, all that fun stuff that we've been doing in the last season before my life kind of imploded. We're going to be doing again here on this channel. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to both the YouTube channel at youtube.com/multimediamouth. As well as the podcast channel. And the links of that are going to be in the bios and the comments of wherever you're watching this. So there's that. So if you haven't been paying attention to the world of professional wrestling, or you just don't care, there are a couple of things that are important to point out. And the big thing is that Vince McMahon is basically the modern founder of the WWE. He was the CEO and chairman of the company for a very long time, and over the years he's been accused of quite a few different things, and a lot of that has to do with just improprieties and the way that he's treated people, and rumors on the way that he's treated people. And last July, no, sorry, July of 2022, I believe it was, Vince McMahon, there was some allegations about Vince McMahon paying women basically to not speak publicly on some sexual improprieties in his life. And the reason why I'm saying sexual improprieties is because I don't want this channel to be dinged with anything on the YouTube side of things, because if I say what it actually is, there's a chance that I get demonetized and get deplatformed. But it is crazy to think that it's been a little over a year. Let's see, yeah. So in 2022, um, Vince McMahon retired. The Wall Street Journal basically did an expose on Vince McMahon, and there were allegations of him paying off women to silence him after he had affairs with them. And in the midst of that, of all that, McMahon retired from wrestling. Stephanie McMahon, who had taken a leave of absence a couple of weeks earlier, returned as a co-CEO. And it looked like the WWE, for the first time in ever, was going to have a Vince McMahon free environment. And it was that way for a little while before, around the holidays of 2022, that McMahon decided he wanted to come back, and that he felt like he had gotten some bad advice from people around him, and that he was going to return to the WWE against the wishes of the people who were now in charge. And he brought back some people onto the board and basically promised to sell WWE, and basically made it to the point where no TV deal, no sale, no anything could happen without Vince McMahon's sign off. and that made life difficult. Of course, Stephanie McMahon ended up resigning. Nick Khan became the new CEO, and WWE would eventually be sold to a company called Endeavor and would create the TKO Holdings Group, which is basically the UFC and WWE as one giant company. And that's where we were up until up until Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And at that point, things have been kind of quiet. WWE announced their new TV deal for WWE Raw, which is a huge deal for them, with WWE Raw going to Netflix and going to be streaming officially on that platform and being removed from cable for the first time. And then Dwayne The Rock Johnson was announced as a new board member of the TKO group. And then these allegations from Vince about Vince McMahon came out. Basically, the big story is that McMahon not only hired a woman to do a specific job, and that was basically him, but then offered her services, if you can read between the lines there, to other men, other executives, and essentially did some very terrible things here. And there's going to be a link to the articles in the description of this podcast. But essentially, the worst of Vince McMahon came out, and so I wanted to take some time to really talk about this because there are a couple of different things here. Number one, um, it's one thing if Vince McMahon had decided, you know what, this woman's really beautiful, and I really just I want to sleep with her, and I know I probably shouldn't, but you know what, I have the money, I can hush her up if I really wanted to. And I'm gonna have my way with her, and maybe they entered into a consensual relationship, which is what my assumption is to a certain degree. That I don't think that Janelle Grant, the woman who is alleging these things against McMahon and filed a lawsuit against McMahon, I don't think she necessarily said, well, I'm not gonna go down that route because I don't want to come off as somebody who is trying to justify what McMahon did, because that's in no way is what I'm trying to do. But what I am saying is that there's one thing of like, hey, you're a single woman. I'm a man who, is either no longer in a relationship with my wife, or we're basically everything but divorced. And I want to sleep with you, and we both enter this arrangement together, knowing that it's going to be a very consensual thing, even if it gets a little wild, even if it gets a little bit spicy for the algorithm, and even if at the end of the day, we're both two consenting adults, this is what we're going to do. That's one thing. But the thing that really gets me is this woman apparently was strictly just hired to basically become a pleasing machine for Vince McMahon, and then was passed around and offered up, and images of her that were taken, intimate images of her that were taken, and intimate videos of them together that were shared with other people, and she was basically used as a pawn to potentially sign, allegedly, Brock Lesnar, because there are allegations in the lawsuit stating that Vince McMahon offered her to a former WWE and UFC champion. And the only person who would do that, that's a man, is Brock Lesnar. And around this time frame, Brock Lesnar returned to the WWE and re-signed a contract with the WWE. So it would not surprise me to find out that Brock Lesnar was the man. All that being said, the big question that I want to try to answer right now is, what is Vince McMahon's legacy? Do these allegations change the fact that he was the brainchild behind WrestleMania? Do we overlook the fact that he had Hulkamania, and the creation of John Cena, and what the WWE became pre 2023? Do does this terrible sin overshadow the 40 years plus of entertainment and media consumption that many of us grew up on? Are we supposed to look at Vince McMahon now as just a deviant and somebody who should not be managing people anymore, and we should demonize all of his work over these allegations if proven to be true. And I'm not going to sit here and try to digest what may or may not be true. If if this is a woman who's just looking for a payout or anything like that, because you know what, there are some receipts here, and unless this woman went through thick and thin to create these text messages and to create this receipts, and there's an NDA that she's trying to get out of, and there, obviously there is some fire to the smoke, because Vince McMahon retired once and then again resigned the other day, even though in his resignation he claims that she's lying essentially. uh does all of this negate Vince McMahon's legacy? And I have to say yes, it 100% negates Vince McMahon's legacy. I don't think we can ever look at WrestleMania in the same light as Vince McMahon being the creative genius. Like, yes, he'll always be able to have that. He created WrestleMania. He created the biggest wrestling company in the world. He consolidated the territories. He created Hulk Hogan and The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and John Cena and Roman Reigns, and created this multi-billion-dollar corporation that ended up being worth $9 billion when he sold it after these allegations first became public, and made a boat ton of money off of this. All of that stuff will always be true. However, we are going to look at it through the lens now of a man who, behind the scenes, has multiple allegations of has multiple allegations of forcible acts on women, has multiple allegations of just straight up deviancy. And over the years, McMahon has been accused of covering up murders. Like, this isn't just one thing that you can maybe like, it's not just one woman. It's not just Janelle Hill or Janelle Grant. It's other women, it's former employees. There are women who were wrestlers who basically have made the claim that because they did not give in to Vince McMahon, they did not re-sign with the company, because they were not going to be given the money or platform that they were promised, because they didn't follow through with that side of the arrangement, or stopped following through with that side of the arrangement. There are there are now rumors that Shane McMahon, Vince's own son, tried to stop Vince from doing stuff like this, and that's why he left the company in 2009. So, yes, Vince McMahon's legacy at this point in time is as a terrible, terrible human being, and he should not be held in the same light that he had been for a very long time. And listen, I know there are going to be a lot of fans out there that disagree with me. Like, there are a lot of people that don't think that you should have to disconnect Chris Benoit, the wrestler, from Chris Benoit's last 48 hours of his life, or 72 hours of his life, and the actions that he had there. There are people who think that you can listen to Michael Jackson and appreciate his music while also condemning him for allegedly doing the things that he allegedly did. There are a lot of people out there who can defend this type of action, this type of behavior. But I think is anybody who looks at this objectively, unless Vince McMahon can come out with receipts that not only is this woman lying and making things up, but also, you know, you know, how do I say this without making it sound, basically, that it was a consensual relationship, and she she basically was, you know, pawning herself around, which I don't believe is what happened. I believe her side of the stories. I really do, just based off the evidence. But if Vince can prove, hey, this woman came on to me, or agreed to these terms, and then she started sleeping around and offering herself in that way, and it happened to help out with a contract with Brock Lesnar and a couple of other people, that if he's able to come out and prove that, then maybe we can vindicate him. But anything other than a complete vindication of Vince McMahon with receipts, this is his legacy. His legacy is in the garbage. He does not have a chance, in my opinion, of ever coming back from this. No settlement, no court order, nothing other than a full vindication will make this okay, in my opinion, for Vince McMahon. And that is his legacy. That is a legacy of Vince McMahon, is somebody who's going to go down as a disgusting human being who may have had some great ideas over the last 40 plus years, but ultimately couldn't put the better good of his business, the better good of his employees, and the better good of his legacy above his desire to bust, if you know what I mean. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Vince McMahon's legacy, because I'm this is a dialogue. I want to have this conversation with you guys. I'm looking forward to hearing some of your responses. I really am. That may sound a little sarcastic, but I actually want to hear what you have to say and what your thoughts are on the matter, because this is a two-way conversation and you guys have an opinion and I have an opinion. Vince McMahon's legacy, in my opinion, is in the garbage. My name is Ruben Jay. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with a friend, and I'll see you back here when I see you back here.